Started?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Right. Well, welcome to another tech school. I'm happy for everybody who's able to join and on Zoom or via YouTube Live. If you have questions, you can put those into the comments. We'll be happy to try to answer those now or at a different time. But we'd like to welcome the Cal State San Marcos cohort and those other members of the cohort joining from other places. We're excited.
It's great. And
Great
good to
time.
have. It's a really good time. And then we'll hand over to Stephen.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Sam. I guess the only thing that I would probably add to that would be if you're tuning in on YouTube, whether it's live or if you're watching the recording, feel free to give us a comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. All the likes or comments, interaction we get with videos like this help push it out to more people. And so that like you left or that comment sharing your thoughts, asking a question could push this video out to somebody who really needed to hear, part of the message that was shared today. So if you have a chance to do that, feel free to do so. And I will hand it off to our speaker.
Yeah. I maybe, John, are you on now? You might not be actually on at this point. But what we can actually do is I'll Ganesh. We can start off with Ganesh in some ways too. Ganesh, we know you actually in some ways represent Cal State San Marcos, which is great. But on the engineering side, could you tell a little bit about yourself, Ganesh?
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ganesh Mane, and I'm currently pursuing my master's in computer science from Cal State San Marcos. And yeah, currently I'm in my final semester finishing my master's project and looking for jobs.
And what if you actually in some ways we just came from that kind of conference, Ganesh, what is one of the ideal kind of jobs you've been looking at? What have been some of the ideal things you've been looking at, and what companies?
Yeah, so mostly I'm looking for software developers or something in like a cloud computing thing. Like I have currently narrowed down to 2 options. Yeah, so and then companies, I'm looking like a medium scale to large scale companies.
Got it. Is there one in particular? I know you've been looking at ServiceNow and stuff like that too.
Yeah, ServiceNow is like a cloud-based company, so yeah, they have like a platform as a service. So yeah, I have applied to it and waiting for the response.
I felt like this is like a little engineer highlight I wanted to give out. So we're all recording it. So that's great. And Ganesh has been part of the Fokcus team for a while, and he's been in some ways it's been refreshing working with you, Ganesh. We've had different interns and even people from Tech Hire that came to help Fokcus. But the one thing you've been really great is that you've been very conscientious. That's probably a good word for an engineer, asking us questions and saying what if we do this so just appreciate all your help and things of that nature.
Thank you.
We might have you do the demo earlier than later, just because Johanna might have some sound issues. But Johanna, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. That's great.
Okay, perfect. I connected with my phone after I connected with my computer, and I think that broke something. So I disconnected from my computer and reconnected. So hopefully you can hear me now. Can you see me?
We can't see you, but even if you just do your screen, that'd be great. And then we got to see your slides. I know you had slides and then that nature, and we can go that route.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, so I'm logged in as two people, but you can't, and my camera's on. But you can't.
That's totally fine about the camera. You can just do share the screen, and then that's good. I'll go in there and do some IT later.
I'm not sure what's going on there, but let me see if I can figure out how to share from the other one. Am I lighting good and everything?
Yeah.
Okay, so share this one. Can you see my screen with my?
Yeah, we can see. We totally can see your screen. We see it has Zoom on it and everything.
Okay, now let me see. Switch over to here. it's always hard to find the
Right.
for this.
Yeah. That's great.
And then I had it all set up on my computer, but I messed up on getting it onto my phone.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, so you know what? When I do that, I can't see my notes. So let me think about how I can, maybe if I put this down here. Can you, let me try this. Share this one in presentation mode, and then I'll be able to see. So
Nice.
you can see it now, right?
Totally can see it. Yeah.
If I go in presentation mode, it takes over both screens. So let me see. I use this new methodology, so that's why I'm which I'm excited to share with you all. But it sort of affected the way things show up on the screen. So so sorry about that. Was me trying to implement something new at the last minute, which is pretty me. So anyway. Yes.
I mean, I do that all the time. It gets me in trouble.
Right? I'm like, I'm just going to use this. It's going to be great. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I should have tested it a little bit first. But that's anyway, that's part of startup life, right? Like we launch.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. So, exactly.
And maybe I don't know. I'll keep. I'm sort of. A part of my bandwidth is on why you can't see me. But thank you for being here. And I just wanted to sort of do a little bit of prep work to say, like, type your questions in the chat. We do monitor them. Stephen and Curling are both watching the chat, and I'll try to, but it's hard for me to multitask. But I know the rest of the team is actually monitoring the chat, and we can cover any questions that you have at the end this time. Curling, did you have any other things that
only thing I would say is just you could tell a little bit about your background. I know some of the cohort knows, but that might be good.
Yes, I will. So I'm so excited to share today's talk with you, because it's the culmination of several years of effort and multiple iterations by dozens of people. So again, thank you for joining us today. And I wanted to thank our team and our advisors for all their contributions, as well as to Ganesh for preparing part 2 of the presentation. I know he was up quite late last night. And really, what I want you all to get out of this is encouragement, especially for non-technical founders. I want you to sort of come away with this, like, energized and hopeful that that you have a path to sort of build your perhaps technical startup, even if you are not a programmer or an engineer. So that's kind of a little bit of background and where we're going. Let's see. So I have it broken out into like just 3 kind of key things. The first one is prototyping and planning. The next one is about communicating. And then the next one is about like handing off to your technical team. And with the prototyping and planning, I am going to give a little bit of my background as well as our team's background, because I'm not sure you all know the story of how Fokcus came to be. And Curling, I know you have a lot of this history. So, if you think of something and you want to jump in, totally we can do, fireside chat version. You're welcome to contribute little spice to my talk.
Sure.
So Fokcus actually was started in 2016. Is sort of like, and I sort of view starting as like when we actually started talking about like maybe we should make a company. And what you all may or may not know is that also in 2016 I had twins, and those were the 2 additional kids on top of the 2 that we already had. So we have 4 kids, and I was working full time, and I still work full time. So with a full-time job and 4 children, you can build a startup. It's totally possible. Please don't be scared. It takes time, and it takes perseverance and a few other things that we're going to talk about. But but you can definitely tackle this thing that's sort of, I don't know about you all, but for me, like a startup sort of is this idea that I'm compelled to act on. Like I have to do it, right? Like as soon as I start thinking about it, I'm thinking about registering domain names, and I'm thinking about setting up corporations, and I'm building a website, and I'm immediately trying to I'm thinking about what my logo looks like. So the way Fokcus started actually was Curling and I talking one night about writing a book, because Curling is really in demand as a startup mentor and as a person who's sort of been through this a few times. And we're trying to figure out how could more people access the information that's in his head so that we can help more people. What we said was what we should probably do is write a book. But that quickly morphed, because right as we were working through the outline of that book, we got this notification from Sue at USC, the 577 program, with an invitation to apply. And we said, we just saw this really cool thing that Google has called the Google Marketing Primer, which was like a little app that you could download and had all this useful information in it, little bite-sized chunks. And we said, what if we could, instead of building a book, build this startup primer that's similar to the Google Marketing Primer? And so we submitted a proposal. And then while I was actually in the hospital with the twins right after they were born, we got notification that we were accepted to the 577 program. And Curling went to LA for the kickoff meeting. And we had this team. I think we had 7 people or 9 people. Curling and Stephen were both there. They'll probably remember more than I will. But suddenly we had 3 founders and a whole technical team. But what we didn't have was a plan for what we were going to build. And so Curling is really great at thinking about the 577 program as a really good experience for the students, rather than what are we going to get out of it. He's thinking what are they going to get out of it? And so he collaborated with them, and we iterated, and we decided that we needed to build, we need an iOS app, and we need an Android app, and we need a website. We need an informational website, and we need a web application. And we had this big team. So we went down this path of trying to build all these things at once, even though all of our experience and knowledge to that date told us you shouldn't do that. We were like, we could do it. And so we set down this path to build something. But it's really, really hard to build something when you don't know what you're building. And business is way faster than technology. So even as they were building stuff, we were learning things that we needed to incorporate into what our product was going to be. And I think even though it was a great experience and we built some great relationships, the product that came of that was not the thing that would launch our company, or that would launch our product for our company. And so I want to sort of talk about what some of the challenges and problems were. And that sort of leads me to, how you communicate the plan. So the team kept asking for stuff that I didn't have, or I didn't know how to articulate. And here I'll give a little background of myself. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a programmer. No, I'm not completely not technical. I've managed a lot of technical projects, video games, biotech products, medical devices, just regular software. I've managed a lot of technical teams over the years, but I wasn't ever building a thing that was mine, that I had to create. I was always building something that was well thought out by someone else, or creating another iteration of something that had been well thought out by someone else. And that's very different than building something that is an idea in your head. And I have dabbled in, I've taken a couple programming classes, I've taken a couple report writing classes. I really love Excel, and I'm pretty comfortable there. So I'm not totally not technical, but I can't and wouldn't even want to code a software solution. I don't have the patience for it. My brain doesn't work that way. And so I'm really grateful that there are other people on my team who can and want to do those things, because maybe I could do them, but it would take me 10 years and we don't really have that much time. So, so my main skills are I can connect and communicate with technical people. And my main attribute here is not technical, it's persistence. It's when I don't understand something, I own that. And I just say, like, you know what? All that stuff you just said for the last 10 minutes, I didn't get it. Could you say that again in a different way? Or could you break that into smaller pieces? Or can I go away and think about that? And can we talk about it again tomorrow? So keep asking what might feel like dumb questions until you understand. Google everything, and find a technical person. For me, so curling is one of those people, but sometimes your co-founder or your spouse or your partner is not the best person to. Not that they're not a good person to work with on those things, just sometimes you don't hear them the way that you hear other people. It's like when you are in a company, right? And you know the answer to something, but no one will listen to you until they hire this external consultant and pay them a lot of money, right? And then suddenly, like, whatever they've said, which is what you've been saying all along, is the brilliant solution that everybody's on board with. So there's this aspect of external feedback or input that sort of validates things that sometimes is easier to listen to. So let's see. So for me, that person, sometimes it's curling. He's very accessible to me, but most of the time it's actually my brother, who, even though he lives in Southern California, is insanely busy with his job, but he's a developer and a really experienced one, and really passionate about it. And he's also a really good teacher and a really good person who can explain very technical things to not technical people. And so when I really don't understand something, I just bug him and I try to write things on whiteboards, and I try to prototype things, and I tinker with stuff, and I write out formulas, and I say, is this what you mean? Can I use it like this? Will it work this way? Why doesn't that work? Can you explain it to me until I get it? And having that resource is incredibly valuable. So you're going to have to learn a lot of stuff, and you're going to have people around you that are smarter than you, and you have to be okay with that. Now I want to talk about what the hard part is, even though some of that stuff might have sounded hard already. For me, all that stuff was fun. I was learning, I was experimenting. I had a lot of autonomy and a lot of input because I was the main person who was working on documenting what would become our algorithm and bridging sort of what we were learning from our research and the technology of how we might implement those things. I had a lot of freedom and not a lot of accountability. When I had to hand it off to the team, that was really hard. I had to trust. I had been working on it for several years, and I had to trust other people not to mess it up. And that was hard. And I had to be patient. And I had to answer a lot of questions over and over again. And sometimes it felt like they were asking me the same question multiple times, and it was frustrating. I was tempted to tell the whole history of how I learned every painful and difficult lesson so that they would have all the same knowledge that I have about all the decisions that I made. But that was my baggage and not my team's baggage. And ultimately, that information is overwhelming for them and not useful. And it might even be boring for them. They never said that to me, but I suspect. So we had a bunch of really smart people, and I had to just trust them that they would try and fail and learn their own lessons. And I was tempted to tell them that every single part of what I had done was critical. They kept asking me, like, what should we do first? What's important? What's the most important thing? And I kept saying, well, all of it's important. It wouldn't be in there if it wasn't important. But ultimately, that's not true. And what they ended up doing was taking what I had created, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and building like a very simplified version of it that didn't necessarily incorporate all of the learning that that we had done, but it gave us a functional working model that we could then begin to slowly add things in. So think about it like it's the frame of the house, right? It's not like all the decorations and all the furnishings and all the things that you've collected for all the years, you know, laid out perfectly. It's just the framework that will allow you to do all of those things. So prioritizing was super hard for me because it felt like everything that I had spent time to incorporate was really critical. So I'm still going to keep talking at a high level, and then we'll talk about like what did I actually do. So also along this path, it's really important to give other people grace and give yourself grace. Nobody's trying to ruin your day or build your thing wrong on purpose or irritate you. They're just trying to help you and trying to understand and trying to do the best job that they can. And not just in building a startup, but actually in life. Like that's a useful thing to remember about other people. Most people are not actually out to get you and not trying to do bad stuff to you. They're trying to do the very best job that they can with the information that they have. And that might not feel right to you, but if you take a step back or if you pause and ask them questions, you'll sort of uncover that motivation and you'll be able to connect better. So ultimately what happened was I had to step away from the team and let them build something. And it took a while. And when they finally told me that it was done, I actually was afraid to look at it. I was like, oh, they built all that stuff without any input from me. And I was just really nervous. But I've been so pleasantly surprised and am newly invigorated and excited about the technology piece of our product as a result of this process. But I really stepped away from what the development team was doing and took my hands off it completely for at least 6 months, maybe even longer. So back to talking about like, what was it that I took my hands off and handed over? I made spreadsheets of lists of stuff, all the things that I thought that were critical to building our solution. So I made lists of who the different types of people were with real names of examples of people, and what types of information I'd want to collect about them and what their roles might be. And then we did all of this experimenting of putting mentors and entrepreneurs together to sort of learn what types of people work well together and what don't work well together. And we spent hours and hours sending out surveys and interviewing people in person and making phone calls and following up and doing one-on-one feedback requests to get all this customer discovery information to incorporate. And I tracked it all in this giant spreadsheet. And then I started to formulate an idea of what I could do with it. And so I built out basically our whole company in this giant spreadsheet. Now that worked great for me. So if Curling could ask me like some piece of information, I could dig through my spreadsheet, build some formulas, and build him a dashboard view of whatever he was asking me for. Or if the technical team wanted to know something, I could hunt through my spreadsheet and figure it out. But the spreadsheet didn't make sense to anybody except me. So the team asked me for something called a white paper, which sounded scary to me. I never wrote a white paper before. It sounded like something scientific that somebody really way smarter than me would write, and I was intimidated by that. So I used PowerPoint and I took screenshots of different portions of my spreadsheet and the formulas in each of the cells of my spreadsheet. And I just wrote out in plain English what each thing was in my spreadsheet. And that is what the team calls the white paper. I think I might have written a little summary document that goes with it to help make sense of at a high level what the key elements were and what the definitions of some of the research work that we did was. Let's see. So that's the thing that I handed over so that they could build a technology solution. And do a little time check, Curling. How are we doing?
We're doing good. Is there anything on the other slides offhand? I know we're on this communicating the plan slide.
Yeah, so that was communicating the plan. We just talked about handing off to the technical team. And then I'm about to go into a summary, but thanks for reminding me about the slides. I got all engrossed in the story.
No problem. No problem.
And we can share these slides afterwards. So just some key takeaways. I know I just shared a lot of information, but to super summarize it, Curling always says business is faster than technology. And that seems counterintuitive to me because I always see things about, technology grows, exponentially, every year. It keeps, I forget what the principle is, but, that hard drives get faster and can that the capacity doubles every year or something like that. But I think, so we always hear about technology sort of growing really fast. And so when somebody says to me, business is faster than technology, that doesn't always make sense. But then when you step back and think about companies like Google that, their release cycles are like 6 to 18 months, then business actually is faster than that. So taking the time to really think through your product and invest significant time in customer discovery is a useful activity. And even when you have a product, your release cycle, still will be quite a bit slower than how fast you might be collecting information from your customers and thinking through iterations of things you might want to change or add. The next thing I want to sort of highlight is that you can make the prototype yourself. And here's a few things that you can do to get started. I recently read this book to the twins, who are now 4, and it's called How to Code a Sandcastle, and it's written by Josh Funk. It is a children's book, but it explains to you the logic of coding and helps you conceptually understand what it is. So for those of you that are really not technical, you've never taken a coding class before, you've never worked with programmers before, like that is a great starting point to help you conceptually understand what coding is and demystify it a bit. The next thing you can do is you can take a basic coding class, and Apple offers one for free to learn Swift. And Curling took this class with me. It's only about an hour long, isn't it, Curling?
Yes, it's just about like 50 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty short. But they have a little app that they have iPads that they'll let you use for the class, and they have this cute little animated thing that's not intimidating or scary at all, and it walks you through how to do some basic coding. And at the end of that hour, you'll have put together some building blocks of code to actually make a thing, respond to the codes that you've given it, which is, it's very satisfying if you've never done it before. The next thing I'll recommend is take an Excel class. If you know Excel already, don't take an Excel class. And if you do take an Excel class, pivot tables are really cool. But if you're like me, one day after you've taken the class and it seemed cool and easy, you forgot how pivot tables work and what they're for. So just focus on conceptually understanding how you look up and use formulas, and that will be pretty powerful without pivot tables, which are kind of like how to make Excel work like a database. And then find a trusted technical advisor like my brother, who is already taken, that will help you understand stuff and listen to you. And then my last takeaway point is that you need to trust your team. So I hope that I've given you a few actionable steps and some encouragement that you can do it too. And I'm excited to hand it off to Ganesh for a demo. Curling, did you want to pause before we transition?
I think as we're setting up for the demo, and then on Ganesh's side, if anyone has some questions, we want to do high level. This is going to be kind of like a series on MVP, right? This is kind of maybe the first part of it. But we wanted to talk about a little about our story first because it's real, it's authentic. So thank you, Johanna, for actually giving these really great, especially we're meeting the cohorts where they're at. So I appreciate that. But as we do the demo, if anyone has some very specific questions on stuff of Johanna's experience, put those on the chat. So let's start the demo. Let's do that.
So I'll stop sharing.
And is there a slide after demo too, Johanna, that Ganesh was going to read?
There is a slide. Let me. Oh, it looks like there's an architecture diagram, and let me switch over to that view.
Yeah, let's do that. And then
second, and I'll start sharing that. It's loading. There you go.
Great.
So I'll share that, and then we can jump in.
Sounds good.
The Zoom window, and click share. All right, there you go. Okay, so this is Ganesh's one of two slides.
Great.
Hello, everyone. So today I'm going to talk about the product we built to help entrepreneurs and mentors to like get to know each other, and based on the machine learning algorithm that Johanna was talking about. I will talk about the technologies we used, and then I'll explain the architecture diagram of our system. And then I'll also give a small product. So let's get started with technologies used. So for web host used Amazon Web Services, we use Amazon, we use AWS LAMP server for this product. LAMP is basically like a Linux, MySQL and PHP. So we wanted all these four products to build a website and a backend server to process the data. So we chose LAMP server of AWS. And then there are web hosting or like a cloud computing platforms available in the market, like Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, or Adobe Creative Cloud. But the reason we chose one is because AWS is like a most used in the world. It's pretty popular, and even if you run into some like a problem or something, there are high chances that you will get a solution on the internet, or you will get some guides from the people that know some that have technology background. Also for your product, if you wanna choose any web hosting platform or a cloud platform, you can, the factors you look for is the availability of the servers, then the cost, what they charge, how much they charge, and the ease of usage, how easy that system is to use. Then the next is we developed our website in HTML and CSS. We chose HTML and CSS because our team was comfortable with it, and also if suppose it doesn't have any experience in computer science background or like a IT field, they don't want to learn, even if they have experience, they don't want to learn HTML or CSS, they can go for WordPress or like content management systems like WordPress or Joomla. In there, you just need to drag and drop the stuffs to like create a website. And you can do this with Lightsail, AWS Lightsail, which is like we have done it for our Fokcus website. Then the web server we chose was Apache, because again it's the most used and best in the market right now. There are other servers available like Apache Tomcat, which is like particularly used for Java containers for the backend. You can use those based on your application, but Apache in general is like does most of the things, so that's pretty popular in all. Then next is we are using MySQL database for storing the data on this website. We chose MySQL because we are not generating a huge data. So if suppose your application is generating a huge data, you can go for like a non-relational databases like MongoDB or SQL. But since our website or our product is not generating a huge data and also it's related, so we used a relational database called MySQL. After that, for backend, we used PHP and Python. Since we are using mostly the get and post methods for sending and receiving the data from the website and the backend server, so we used PHP. And then for our machine learning algorithm, we used Python, as most of the machine learning libraries are developed in Python. Then, can you go to next slide? Yes, this is the architecture diagram. As you can see, user can visit our website. You can like log in, sign up, and do stuffs. Then our website is on the AWS server, which has MySQL database. Then for like executing PHP files or like processing the PHP files, we have Apache web server, and this Apache web server invokes the Python server to like run a machine learning script in the backend when user submits a survey. And this Python server communicates with MySQL database to like fetch and store the information after it gets the result. So this is about the architecture. We can go for the demo.
You want to share out your screen now, Ganesh?
Yeah, so this is our website, fokcus.com. As I told, this is on the AWS WordPress website. So when you visit this website, you can always go and hit the sign up button. It will take our product, the perfect match for entrepreneur, and you can do like sign up or login. So if suppose you go for sign up, you can choose whether you're an entrepreneur or mentor, and then based on that you can enter your information, and once you hit sign up, it will come back to the login page. For now I have all the logins, so I'll just show the mentor logins for now. So for mentor, we just have a functionality that mentors can take the survey. In here, we'll be asking few questions like your zip code, just to know where you're located, and based on that, we can match with the entrepreneur, whoever is like close to you based on the distance. Then we have a video session link. If suppose you have any video session link on any website like YouTube or any other video platform, you can just put the link in here. If suppose you are matched with any entrepreneur, this link will be shown to them and they can watch a little the work that you did or something like that. So these are personality questions. So These are like 10 questions here. These I already took the survey, so it's showing all the selected. So I'm gonna just show the next part. Here it asks for what industry you have expertise in. So these are the different industries listed here. You can check all that are applicable, and you can hit next. On next, it asks you for the skills that you possess, and you can check all that apply to you. And once you hit submit, it just goes to the database, and whenever you matched with the entrepreneur, you will get, if suppose entrepreneur wants to speak to you or talk to you, you will get an email from him, and then you can go forward from. So for now, this is what the mentor feature is. Now for entrepreneur, we have few extra functionalities along with the survey. Survey is pretty much same, just that entrepreneurs don't have a video link. Questions are same. Skills, and hit submit, you will see the results. Like we are showing the top 5 matches for you. So these based on what we are matching, and then what is the final match confidence. So if suppose you have a video link, this button will be enabled, otherwise it will be grayed out. Yeah, these are all the like all the details of the mentors. And suppose you want to contact someone, so you can just go to contact. You can choose who you want to contact from this list. This list is like whoever is best is the first one, then like second, third, fourth, and fifth. Then all the details of this of yours will be here. Your email, you can change if you want these details, and select a subject, like have a question, or like schedule a meeting, and then you can write a message. As soon as you submit, your email will be like sent to the mentor, whoever you choose here. Then suppose you had a session with any mentor and your feedback. So you to this feedback button, you can choose with whom you had a session, and then you can use the date for the session, and you can rate like 1 to 5. 5 is the excellent, and then you can add any comments if you want. Once you hit the submit button, the feedback will be shown, like will be put into database, and then our team can check it. Along with that, yeah, the watch button, suppose this one has a watch. Suppose Steven has the watch button. So if suppose I click on that, it'll take me to the link YouTube, and it will show me all the videos that has Steven's name in it. Yeah, select this. So you can go and watch the video and then decide whether you have a meeting with the mentor or no. These are just like about us and all. This is a section we have. This is a YouTube link. Yeah, and this is all. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, please let me know. You can put in.
Well, no, Ganesh, everyone said good demo, good updates. We're getting some good feedback. Even Ido gave some good feedback for Johanna with her authentic founder story. But I have one question, Ganesh, for you though. In general, I heard from a startup too, is actually when you were thinking about the technology you were going to use, right? Why did you use LAMP? Why did you just decide to use that?
The LAMP?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to use, like I started with WordPress, but then I couldn't figure out few things that time, like database connection and all. So I switched to PHP, And then for PHP, I need Apache. I chose the operating system as Linux, and then database as MySQL. And yeah, so these 4 components I need the LAMP server on AWS.
Got it. No, that's great. And then did you have any kind of like learning curves with using like the LAMP stack or anything like that? Any lessons learned?
Yeah. So I had difficulty running Python script from PHP, but yeah, some permission issues or like sometimes, when you run from a terminal, it's different. When you try to execute from a web browser, it's different user. So I had some difficulties figuring out that, but then I was like on like few Google searches, and with the help of Steven, I figured it out how to do that. So next time, if suppose I have some, if I face the same problem, I won't be spending that much of time on it.
We got a good question from Ito. He said, "What was your development process? Like kind of like Ganesh, did you and Steven start off with creating up some mock-ups of different pages, or do you guys just use kind of like what the white paper had, or what was that process look like? Or you and Steven can answer that."
Yeah, so we take a white paper. We created Python script, Python machine learning algorithm in Python first. Then we started creating a website, created it locally, and then I migrated it online to like AWS LAMP server later. So during that process, so when we really created the Python script, it was all running fine. But when we tried to run it on the website, it was giving some problem, as I told you, that PHP Python problem.
No, that's good. Steven, you want to add anything about that development process? I know you and Ganesh work together.
Yeah. I would just say that we started with less traditional mockups and more with ideas. Like Ganesh mentioned, we took we had taken the spreadsheet Johanna mentioned earlier on that had all the data, all the formulas in it. We broke that down into like a white paper that had more mathematical formulas, right? So for us engineers, we could, okay, what are we creating and how are we creating it, right? And so Ganesh and I worked to turn that into a viable machine learning algorithm and actually the computational part on the back end. And then we had mock-ups and went back and forth with between Ganesh and I, Curling, Johanna, and other team members to really hash out the details of what we wanted to create and what would actually a minimum viable product actually look like. And then built it out into what it is today.
No, that's great. And you know what, Steven, even just going back to like Johanna, you usually ask that great question at the end for the speaker. Maybe you can ask that question to Johanna about the 1 or 2 tips yourself. Or
sure. Johanna, you still on?
Yeah.
Yeah, Johanna, did you so are there 1 or 2 tips you would give your past self kind of before you talked about this whole journey that you went on and in hashing everything out, creating being part of the initial founding of Fokcus and everything, and then learning kind of while creating an MVP, right, with the team and everything like that. Yeah. Are there any tips or things that you would share with your past self before you went through that, things you've learned along the way?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I learned is that experience is a double-edged sword. So if you have experience, especially if you have experience building something that that's similar, like I have experience leading a team building software, right? Which seems like it would be really relevant to leading a startup and building software. But it was a handicap as much as it was a benefit, because the startup team isn't compensated in the same way, isn't motivated in the same way, doesn't have the same level of experience as, you know, a development team that's been working together for 10 years at a big company. And so what you expect of them, how you interact with them, how you motivate them, is very different than when you work with a development team in a well-established company. But at the same time, I see non-technical founders and technical founders struggling that don't have any of that experience because they don't know what they don't know, and it's hard to figure out, you know, what are the activities that you should even be doing. And so I think I wish I might have heard somebody say that to me before, but I'm not sure I could have learned it other than by going through it. But for sure, you know, if I could have convinced my younger self to listen to me, I would have explained that more, and I wish that I would have understood that more, because I think I would have been more gracious and patient in interacting with the team and in trying to produce things that were more useful for the technical team to work with earlier. Is that?
That's good. That's good feedback. And since you still have the mic, we did get a question from Lois about how much would a MVP cost? I know that's kind of like one of those kind of range questions on what the MVP looks like, but could you maybe have Lois think about what that looks like? I know we talk about the skateboard all the way to the car, and we have Tim on. So
So in terms of actual dollars, you can build an MVP pretty inexpensively if you have a team that, you know, is they're part of your founding team, right? If you're using resources that you have, right, then you're paying for some of your technology things, some licensing things, and some incidental things along the way, and maybe paying to get the team together periodically. Curling, you might have some thoughts on this, but I just say, like, in terms of dollars, you can do it pretty inexpensively. I'm talking like hundreds of dollars, not thousands of dollars. And then especially if you do this process of, you know, use free tools and sponge things up yourself and try to build your prototype yourself. But what does cost is time, right? So, but you know, having been through it, I'm not sure that there was a faster path. I think every team has to grow into itself. Every team has to find, you know, the connection with their customer as well as between themselves. And every, you know, company that sort of becomes a viable organization will have this transition from one or two people's or three people's idea to a team of people that need to be able to communicate and share information and work effectively together. And that just takes time.
That's great. And I think that's a good one. And we can get deeper into that maybe in other series too, but thanks, Johanna, for that. And I know Stephen had a great piece. He was going to actually ask Ganesh a very similar question about
Yeah, so wanted to pose this question to Ganesh. So Ganesh, I know you've had experience building projects as a student, right, undergrad, and now a master's student, and now you've gone through, you know, building out this with, you know, a real company, a startup, you know, trying to build an MVP. In the experience you've gained, you know, from through all those times, is there one or two tips that you would give your past self? You know, your past self before you went through the real world example of building out, you know, this MVP with Fokcus, you know, things that you've learned, headaches that you overcame, you know, things like that. Is there anything you would share with your past self about what you've learned?
Yes. So I would say just trust yourself, just believe in you, and then try to get, when you're stuck, get help as much as you can. As Johanna said, don't think that this person is what the other person might think. Why is he or she asking the same question again? Don't think all those things, and just get all the information that you can, and try to work on what you're working on.
That's great, Ganesh. I know we went right up to the hour. We wanted to actually make sure we had gave everybody time to access questions and but Stephen, and if you guys all okay with that, we can still do our 5-minute speed networking if everyone's okay with that. But I have a feeling it's right up until an hour. Maybe what we can do is maybe we just close out the session. We'll save the speed network for next time.
Sure. Yeah. We could do that since we ran up to the hour.
Yeah, I just looked at it.
I talked more than I usually do.
Oh, it's fine. Actually, you did a great job, Johanna, and we thank you for being authentic and got a lot of good feedback from everybody on there too. And even we had Elliot. Elliot was giving me we were going back and forth on some things too. So Elliot was very helpful, and Tim and Ito and Vivian. Everyone's giving us great, good feedback. But I'll have you close it out, Stephen.
Awesome. Well, just to echo, everything Curling said, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Tech School, everyone. It was great to hear, Johanna's story, her take on, the founding of Fokcus, her why on how everything started, and kind of how we ended up to today, really. And then it was also great to be able to, have Ganesh share his thoughts, share his story, be able to demo the MVP that he, played such a big role in help creating. So thank you, Ganesh, for doing that. Yeah, so we won't do the speed networking this time just because we ran up to the hour. But for those of you watching, whether it's live on YouTube, whether it's recorded, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. All the interactions that we get with videos like this, whether you give us a like or leaving your comments or leaving a question in the comments of the video, help this video reach more people. And so you might help this video be pushed out to an entrepreneur or somebody who really needs to hear the message or really needed to hear some information that was shared today. So feel free to do that if you have a chance. But as always, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you in the next episode.